Hi and welcome to the Newcastle Speech Pathology podcast. I'm your host, Hosanna Haddon. This week, we'll be covering the topic of kids in sport and how sport can boost their communication skills. We'll be joined by our founder and director, Alison McDonald, and later on we'll have a special guest, one of our very own, speech pathologist and keen athlete, Josie Chick, as she shares how growing up playing sport has helped form her communication skills and relationships. So we're here with Alison McDonald, founder and director of Newcastle Speech Pathology, and my mum. Hi mum, how are you going?
Hey, good. I'm glad to be on your podcast.
Yeah, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
So this fortnight we are focusing on sport.
Yes.
And how sport can boost your child's communication skills. Can you speak to that? Will we a sporty family?
Well, look, I tell you what, sport is a hot topic right now because, of course, the Olympics and kids are really... the Olympics are such an amazing time to expose kids to a whole range of sports that they might not be aware of.
It's very true. I didn't know about curling until the Olympics.
Yeah, where do you see fencing in your day-to-day life?
Yeah.
But I think what I appreciate about the Olympics now is it's not so focused on just a couple of different arenas. You know, we've got not just the pool and the track, but we've got, you know, the surfing competition, and we've got the breakdancing, and we've got the equestrian. Like, there's just so many areas where people are playing sport, and this is a great time for kids to see what's out there. Yeah,
it's true. It's a great place to take inspiration.
Yeah, it is.
Like shopping, like, oh yeah, I might try that.
Yeah, well, you know, we can't all do equestrian
No.
riding or show jumping, but yeah, it's exposing kids to some new ideas as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously you are a mother of 3 daughters.
Yes.
Myself included.
Yes, indeed.
So growing up, did you put us through sport? What was your experience with that?
I guess the best thing, the way we could describe it, is that I let you explore different options to find out what was going to be the right fit for you. I think when you're thinking about sport, it's very easy to think that, oh, it's just about the team, and the speech and language benefits are there when you're in a team, you know, learning to play together. And absolutely, and I'll talk a bit about that in a minute, but there's so much to be said for just allowing kids to find out what it is that they need for their physical activity. So whether that's dancing in a little community scout hall, or whether it's, you know, going to very intense sporting clinics, there's something for everybody, and the benefit for all children is there. So I think within our family we've kind of tried quite a few things, and we've gone from the very, very simple, let's just take it very easy with no pressure, right through to the, you know, well, let's train hard because it's an event we're really going to focus on. Yeah. You grew up in the family, one of 3 girls, 3 very different girls, so you all had your own interests and pursuits. How would you describe your sporting experience as a child?
Well, I would say I didn't quite take to sport like my sisters. So Maddie, the eldest, very into running, got into netball, was right all up in that competition sphere, very good at that. Caitlin, the younger one, you know, she was all over a few different things. Netball, team sports, also dance as well. Really took to those sort of physical activities. Whereas me, I feel like I didn't take to sport per se, but I did give it a go, and you were always very encouraging of me for doing that. So I think that definitely put me in spaces I wouldn't have usually gone to, and, you know, I would, you know, make connections with my team and sort of push myself in an area. But then eventually I sort of landed more into things that were of interest to me, such as drama group and that kind of things, where a lot of those same team skills and communication is at play in the same or very similar sort of way.
So you'd say that, like, sport was a gateway for you to find out the interests, but it gave you the self-confidence to actually explore things that you perhaps weren't comfortable with.
Yeah, I think that's a great way of putting it. I knew what it was like to show up and not know anyone, and then to get more comfortable over the coming weeks of going to your sport.
I remember a spectacular pinnacle of your sporting career was doing sailing. I don't think you could have ever got more out of your comfort zone.
I did that.
If I landed you on the moon, you couldn't have been more out of your comfort zone than on a boat in the middle of the ocean.
Sailing Mine was great actually, though, because I could do it with my dad. So that was also a fun sort of bonding experience for us, where maybe, yes, I was being pushed out of my comfort zone. Yes, we did capsize a couple of times. But that was also a really special time with dad. So that was fun.
There's bonuses on different things.
Exactly. So even if it wasn't my thing that I kept with forever, you know, I can now say that I've tried sailing, which not many people maybe would say that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, there's so many different types of sport, as we just said, and there's things you do in pairs, things you do individually. I think a really good point is that if you want to even pursue an individual sport, you're still part of a broader sporting community around that sport. So sometimes I think parents might be thinking, oh, well, my child has to get into a sports team. They've got to do soccer, they have to do netball, they've got to do rugby. There's got to be something, because we need that team community spirit. Yes, that's great, but it doesn't suit every child. And just if they decide to pursue something that's more individual, doesn't mean they miss out on those kind of elements.
Yeah, definitely. So what are the benefits of being enrolled in a sport? What kind of communication skills do you learn from that? How does sport help?
Yeah, well, sport helps in so many ways. I mean, firstly, you're interacting with people that you might not necessarily interact with. You're having to become part of a community, and within any community, there's a lot of communication flying around. So there's not just the communication from the coach to the participants or within the team, but there's also that community communication. You know, where do you have to be? When do you have to be there? What do you need to bring? All of those kinds of elements. And encouraging children to take some responsibility for that level of communication can be really positive as well. So yeah, you've definitely got that teamwork and collaboration. Learning to talk to each other in a really encouraging and positive way. I guess the other flip side of that is learning to deal with people when they're not so encouraging, and maybe you are facing I know I've been on the side of many netball courts, and you hear things coming from both sides. Yeah, and you know,
even the parents.
Well, that's exactly right, and you hear comments that, you know, perhaps you didn't really want to hear. So how you deal with those perhaps more negative elements of communication. That's where having a really great coach and having, I guess, strong parental support is helpful, just to walk kids through, you know, what happened, how did that happen, how do we respond and react to that. That's really good. So you're teaching really vital life skills.
A lot of resilience there.
Exactly, it's that resilience and dealing with the different types of communicators. I guess the other thing is, you know, you're following directions. You're actually having to do what you're being told to do. Especially if you're in one of those teams that's, you know, you're relied on for your one role in that team. You have to very clearly follow the instructions. So that's a really great skill for kids to learn early on. I think it's great getting kids started very early in those little programs like, you know, Little Kickers and Net Set Go and all of those sorts of things, where it's really like a soft introduction to the sport and to some basic skills.
I had one of those, didn't I? At the start of my soccer career.
That's right, and I know Maddie coached Little Kickers as well. And I should say it was like herding cats. You get all these little 18-month, 2-year-olds running in different directions. But that's great. They're learning from a very early age that other people have expectations of them, and other people are there to help and guide them as well. I think probably the final element, I mean, apart from the social interaction and learning to communicate, is you actually get a chance to have, in the moment, problem-solving skills and using your critical thinking skills. So when you're in a sporting field, whatever that is, you have to make quick decisions, and you've got to be able to sort of think that through. A lot of times you feel like you're going with your gut, but that's great, but it's really helping with your thought processes. And as we've talked about before, thinking often uses language. Well, generally speaking, it uses language. So
it's very true.
Yeah, it's a really great practice.
It's sort of an all-round immersion, really. Like, you've got those physical skills, the mental skills, the communication skills, but also, building relationships, friendships.
Emotional resilience for ups and downs.
Emotional and physical resilience.
The wins and the losses, you got to deal with all of those things.
Definitely. And they're definitely, I mean, they say there's a sport for everyone. And yeah, even if it's not that team sport, maybe it's an individual sport, maybe it's not a high, how would you say, a high...
It's not a highly competitive environment.
Yeah.
So there's all levels of competition.
Yes. Yeah. Or it's, maybe not a very high activity kind of sport.
I mean... So. We've all seen little kids play sport, whether it's on a field or a court or whatever, and the ball's down one end and there's a group of kids all running in, to follow the ball, and they'll turn around and follow it the other way. They don't really know what they're doing. Or there's the ball and the group down there, and over here there's someone picking daisies and doing cartwheels, It really... You were the cartwheel, yes. Yeah, it really... It doesn't matter what it is. It's getting outside, getting some physical activity.
Yeah.
That's important.
Yeah. So have you got then any tips or advice for parents interested in exploring sport for their kids?
Yeah, I think firstly just go and try a different range of things, but also recognise there's some other opportunities to get involved in sports that perhaps you don't think about. Things like maybe doing park run as a family, it's a Saturday morning fun run. That's a great activity, lots of community, and you're doing something together, but it's not competitive. There's, going for a family bike ride and perhaps inviting another family along as well. So you've got the group of people. Yeah. Just anything where you're outside together, pursuing some sort of physical activity is really, really positive.
Yeah, that's great. So it doesn't have to just be organised sport.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah. Even give your child the responsibility to organise the event.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You can have family mini Olympics. There's so many different things you can try.
Yeah, or I'm sure there are many families out there getting inspired by the Olympics.
Yes.
Maybe keen to get in on the action.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think as parents, we always want our kids to be the best version of themselves. And so part of that is we always want them to do the best they possibly can. And whilst we all say it doesn't matter, just do your best, that is absolutely true and we firmly believe it. However, there's a little tiny part of us that goes, but we want you to win.
Yeah.
And so I think for parents, just recognising that our kids don't have to win. I know we all say it on the outside, but just to kind of really get it in, that it's okay if they just want to do that dancing class in the local scout hall and they never want to progress beyond that, or if they just want to go and turn up at park run and walk it every Saturday rather than giving it a go at running, that's okay. We have to just really validate them for whatever physical activity that they're doing, because they're going to find their way. It's all a physical benefit, and as you said, it's got emotional, mental health, resilience, communication skills through all of that.
Yeah, definitely. So, as you know, one of our team members here, very keen athlete, all about sport, both growing up, and that's still very much part of her life. Josie Chick, one of our speech pathologists, has agreed to come on the podcast. So yeah, we're going to have a chat with her about more of her personal experience growing up in sport and what that was like, and how she thinks that's benefited her communication and relationships.
Awesome. She might not share with you, but she's an amazing basketballer. She competes at a very high level. She's very humble, and
Well, thanks for being on the podcast, Mum.
Thanks for having me back.
Hi, so we're here with Josie, keen athlete, coach, and one of our speech pathologists here at Newcastle Speech Pathology. And so Josie is here to have a chat with us about sport and how sport can increase your child's communication skills. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your history with sport growing up?
Yeah, so I guess I've always grown up around sport. I started playing probably a lot of sport before I was even in school. My whole family were all playing basketball, so I kind of followed in their footsteps.
Oh wow, whole family.
Yeah, from a young age of probably about 4.
Yeah, wow.
And we were always outside playing a different range of sports. My first actual school sport was a soccer team. I was the only girl on the team.
Oh wow.
So that was really fun and kind of a good experience that I always kind of look back on.
Yeah.
I've kind of got into it from a young age. Yeah.
And would you say sport was a big highlight of school and like your young life?
Yeah, I think I was really lucky to have a good upbringing. My parents would always encourage me to be well-rounded, but and I just really enjoyed the exercise of sport. I've always been someone who has to move all the time. And I found that it just makes me feel more energized, and I'm concentrating better when I'm moving. So
that's great. Sounds like it was a good outlet.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. And so obviously as a kid you're maybe not thinking about your speech and communication skills and how your brain is growing, but looking back through the lens of speech pathology and everything you know now, how would you say growing up playing sports influenced your communication skills and your relationships with people?
It had a big impact, I think. I was always a really quiet kid. I wouldn't always be the loudest one in the team or anything, or even in the class. I was always someone who would just do my own work and do my own thing. So sport was really helpful for me to be able to put myself out there and make some connections. And it's really good because I'm still friends with all the basketball players I've played with since I was in under 12. So
that's amazing.
So it's really nice, and I've met lots of people from all over the state as well. So I really had to put myself out there, talk to people who I'd never seen before, never met before.
Because it really brings people together from all backgrounds.
Definitely. And you learn something different from everyone you meet. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it. Which is really good. Yeah.
That's awesome. So it sounds like sport was a big part of your childhood growing up.
Yeah.
Did that stay with you then in your adult life?
Yeah, definitely. I think the shift in the meaning of my sport changed a lot. I now play for more of a social aspect and fitness and well-being. But I still generally keep playing each week. I play basketball in the social team. I've played in the Newcastle team. So,
awesome.
And I have coached a lot of little kids when I was finishing school as well. So
great.
Back in Tamworth. Yeah.
So you got that coaching experience too.
That's
really cool.
Which is a good side of it. Especially growing up playing the sport, I didn't realise how hard coaching can be sometimes, especially with young kids.
Well, it sounds like you obviously work with a lot of young kids now. So speaking to the parents of kids who are maybe not really sure about enrolling their kids in sport, they're a bit hesitant, maybe their kids are neurodivergent, or they just have some hesitations about it, what would be your advice to them?
I think there is a sport out there for everyone. So trying new sports and encouraging your child to try different activities. It doesn't even have to be a committed sport. It could just be, let's go down to the park and kick a football or something like that. There are a lot of come and try for free days and all different sports for a lot of schools. Looking at those options just to encourage your child to have a go at everything. I think that's something I did, and I worked out that I wasn't very good at that, but that's okay. I still made a really good friend there. There's obviously team sports and there's also individual sports. So if your child has trouble communicating, an individual sport like swimming, I used to do swimming, and I had a really great swimming coach growing up where, yes, it was an individual sport, but he made sure that we were all part of the team and we travelled to and from our carnivals all together. We all wore the same uniform. Whereas there wasn't that pressure to communicate during the sport for me. I was just swimming my own race, but I knew I had a team around me to support me. So that's also a really good idea.
That's awesome. So you could still, feel a part of the bigger picture.
Yeah.
So you've obviously got a lot of years of experience in sport. So what does the community of sport mean to you?
It's really important to me. Growing up in a smaller town in Tamworth, we would have a small tin shed was our first basketball stadium. So, everyone in the stadium had a key, had their own key to get in. So it was just, if you wanted to go and have a shot, shoot some hoops, it would just drive down there and get it, which was really good. But then, we got the new stadium, which was also amazing. They have great facilities out there, and even just playing a game where we had a massive grandstand, so when the crowd was full and you could see the whole community rallying around, the whole town really drums up in the media about, oh, the basketball team's playing this weekend, like go down and check it out.
Sounds really special.
Yeah, which is good because it filters through to the junior kids system as well. And it encourages the kids to, you know, keep participating in sport as well.
Yeah. So in all that time that you were spending with teammates, was that a really bonding experience, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. And because we were from Tamworth, we had to do a lot of travelling for our competitions. So we'd all take a bus together, and some of them were up to 8-hour drives.
Oh, wow.
So there's a lot of time spent with the same 10 people, which is good. And I learned a lot of people skills and communication skills from those experiences.
Yeah, definitely. So a lot of time both on and off court.
Yeah. So different contexts of communication. I think the off-court bonding really helps the on-court.
Yeah, having that bond with the team. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So have you got any stories from those early days starting out in sport?
I do. My very first game of basketball, I think I was 4. Oh, wow. 4 or 5. My mum was actually the coach of our school team, and I hadn't really played a proper game. I'd done a lot of dribbling and shooting around the stadium when everyone else was there. I was kind of just always there. But I hadn't actually played. I didn't really know the rules or anything at this point. And my mum's instruction was, just go get the ball, which I did. I got it off my own teammate. And she had to tell me quickly, no, that's not what you do. Like, we're on the same team. Yeah. So
just so eager to get in there.
Yeah, I was very keen.
Yeah. Oh, that's
a pretty funny
cute.
story. Yeah.
Well, thanks for talking with us today, Josie.
It's okay.
So great to learn more about your history with sport and how that helped your communication and relationships.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to this week's podcast. This has been a Newcastle Speech Pathology podcast hosted by Hosanna featuring Alison McDonald and Josie Chick.